is a huge strategic defeat for President Trump, and it's a strategic defeat even bigger than just simply losing a war, because it really reflects the massive decline of American military dominance that's occurring in the region that has the ripple effects around the world. This is the end of America. So President Trump is ending, wouldn't just be a concession for the war, but this would be the bookend to America's unipolar moment. So in 1991, when the Cold War ended, we had the first Gulf War. That is the war that demonstrated beyond all doubt America's escalation dominance with the precision revolution. We took 10,000 body bags to that war, and only 147 American troops were killed, where we kicked out Saddam Hussein from Kuwait with 300,000 plus troops, the fourth largest army in the world. And it was a splendid victory that had enormous ripple effects for decades and decades. That is now all coming to an end. Now, you could say maybe it was already somewhat coming to an end with Iraq and Afghanistan, but this is a mega legacy that now it is going to be President Trump who ended America's unipolar dominance. So when we have the history books written, it'll be 1991 to 2026. And who's the president in 2026 of the United States? It is Donald J. Trump. So he will not be forgotten in the history books. He will go down as having the biggest strategic loss in pretty much America's history. I don't think you can, even Vietnam, although there's more actual casualties in Vietnam. So this is what is the paralysis that's occurring, Mario. And this is not the end of the war. This is not, I know you want it to be, but this is going to go on. And it's going to go on for one really big reason, which is the world's economy is continuing as if on the Titanic into the iceberg. All of the oil inventories are still running down. China is still increasing its demand for oil. All of the Red Sea is still, tankers are still, there were 10 tankers that were turned around. You probably know this better than anybody because you track this so carefully. 10 tankers turned around at the Red Sea. So what you are seeing is the push pressure here for the escalation is not just Trump's ego, and it's not even just his legacy. The push pressure for the escalation is the world economy, and this is going to put more and more pressure on President Trump to do something. And is he going to actually accept the permanent legacy that he ended America's unipolar moment? Or is he going to go for escalation? And I think you're going to see more and more pressure toward escalation. I think he will continue to oscillate. I don't think this will be like the light switch, which would make it really convenient for us to either panic all the time or not. I too looked at my phone at 3 a.m. on Saturday. What did we do? Okay. So I understand that issue, but at the same time, this is what's really occurring, Mario, is it's oscillation. But the next final point I want to make is that even as America is oscillating, the other actors in the region are not oscillating. So Iran has been steadily, drip by drip by drip, gaining power. On June 15th, I published this piece on my Substack called Iran's Era of Maximum Leverage to Begin in Mid-July. And this is what I'm talking about. As the oil inventory buffers run down, here, and as the economy just starts to get worse and worse, and we don't have the exact dates, but we know the direction of the effect, this is Iran's period of maximum leverage. And that's when I said, this is when Iran's going to close, we think seriously about closing the Red Sea, open the Red Sea front. It's going to be middle of July. It's not going to be mid-June, and it's not going to be in September. It's because that's going to help with its leverage overall. And then what is Iran's goal going to be? Iran's goal is not going to be peace, which is, I think, you think their goal is peace. Their goal, I think, is to get all American troops out of the region. That's all 50,000. That is all the bases. That is all the naval forces. And I think they're going to see how far they can push that between now and the midterms, and probably through January before they're going to reconsider any of this. So I think they're heading right along a certain trajectory. It's a power trajectory. And I think that Trump's strategic paralysis isn't stopping that. It may be that he won't do the escalation, but this isn't stopping Iran from becoming the rising hegemon in the region. And it is going to exert power more and more over other states in the region.
So when you say Trump is not going to accept such a massive defeat for the US and that will be a big stain on his legacy, I agree. But you're assuming he doesn't believe, or he won't be convinced that continuing the war would make it worse. So because you're assuming that he'll fall into the sunk cost fallacy, instead of realizing that the fallacy is there, that if it continues, it's only going to get worse and worse.
So let me, over the last week, Mario, I've given 2 big presentations on the escalation trap called My Nightmare Scenario, the Professor Pape Nightmare Scenario. And I'm going to lay this out for you, and then we're still going to talk about the Hormuz issue. Okay, so there's a lot here that we focus so much on other things, Mario. We haven't really talked about a lot of these other thoughts that have been there. And so I want to use this as an opportunity to do it. And also, I've had to cut our session short. I apologize for that with so much else going on. This will be, I have more time today. So, but let me talk about the nightmare scenario. Because what everybody's saying is, well, President Trump couldn't possibly go for ground power because the American public won't stand for it.